The film The Mighty Max is set in 1971 and is a true story about a woman named Kathy Rush and her journey through coaching a basketball team at an all-girls Catholic school. She begins her job being looked down upon by the main character of the school, St. John. Along Kathy's journey, she pushes the girls' basketball team to be the best that they can be and to tap into their inner potential. She also had to deal with her NBA referee husband, Ed Rush, putting her down for wanting to work, but she was doing so because she was following her dream. As she gains traction with her team winning more and more, her husband finds the respect she deserves and gives it to her, as well as the people in charge of the school started to look at Kathy as a prophet sent from God to help with the financial crisis at the school. Kathy ends up getting her team to win the national championships and got the school to stay open for many years that followed. The first concept I'd like to touch on is gender socialization, which is the process through which children learn about the social expectations, attitudes, and behaviors typically associated with boys and girls. This was an overarching theme in the movie. There were many references to how girls on the basketball team never knew the potential they had because of what was told to them as they were growing up through the 60s. A scene in the movie that portrays this is one where Kathy and her team are at a diner after a game, and one girl, Lizanne, asks Kathy, "Did you guys have a big wedding?" in reference to Kathy and her husband. And Kathy says, "Nope. We eloped and came back to throw a big party." Lizanne says, "I can't wait for my wedding day." The scene shows how it is stereotypical for girls to desire their wedding day, and a big one at that, even from a young age. Another scene that highlights this concept is one where Kathy comes home late from a post-game training session with her team. Her husband Ed is frustrated with the little amount of time he's getting with her ever since she started her job. Ed says it's not working because you're trying to change them and they don't want it. Kathy responds, they've been told for so long that they can't have it, that they can't even imagine wanting it. This scene and quote shows how women were told about the expectations of them ever since they were young. Women were meant to be housewives that enjoyed chores and the patriarchy, but that just isn't how it is. This movie and scene break women out of that age-old perception. The second concept I'd like to include here is standpoint theory, which is explained as the social groups within which we are located powerfully shape what we experience and know, as well as how we understand and communicate with ourselves, others, and etc. A scene that portrays this concept is one where Kathy is talking with Sister Sunday as she is putting clothes on a clothesline. Kathy thanks Sister Sunday for the new rim in the basketball gym, and Sister Sunday replies with, "We are here to serve." I believe that this quote shows how influenced she is by her surroundings, being that she lives with other nuns at the school and that she is a woman herself. This influence makes Sister Sunday believe that we, being women, are meant for dealing with tasks and housekeeping. The third concept found in this movie is muted group theory, which focuses on how marginalized groups are muted and excluded via language. A scene that portrays this in a unique way is one of the opening scenes where Kathy is speaking with Mother St. John. St. John is shocked to hear that her girls will become more conditioned athletes and only expects these activities to suppress their hormones. In a way, this statement mutes women and their availability to be more than what is perceived of them. The perception is that women can't control their emotions due to their heightened hormones during menstrual cycles and the common belief that women only think out of emotion. The fourth concept to be related here is objectification theory, which is a framework for understanding the experience of being a female in a culture that objectifies the female body. A scene comes up where Kathy and Sister Sunday have arrived at a bar after winning another game, and a man comes up to them telling the bartender to put the drinks on his tab. After this man gets rejected from dancing and conversation, he mentions how all the good ones are already taken, after the girls mentioned how they were married. The objectification here is shown within the man's comment, being that all he knew about the girls was that they weren't interested and that they were attractive to him. The final concept I'd like to relate with this movie is self-presentation theory, which explains how people attempt to present themselves to control and shape how others view them, expressing oneself and behaving in ways that create the desired impression. I'd like to meld this discussion with another one of my classes, which is the history of romantic comedy movies. In this class, we learned that a career woman comedy is one where a woman is the main character and it shows her struggling and succeeding, but while doing so, she's presenting herself in a more masculine way. Most career woman comedy movies portray women in suits with hair tied back and little to no jewelry. Kathy Rush's first appearance created a theme that she would be seen to follow throughout the movie. In the beginning, when she first walked into the school, she was wearing a quite conservative attire, a long, slim, black dress that stretched down to her feet. The dress goes into a short turtleneck, revealing only her forearms and her face. Her hair is well maintained, shiny, and at shoulder height. She is only wearing a silver wedding ring and a thin silver band bracelet. I assume that Kathy's character is portrayed as such to show her determination to make the best possible impression she could be, especially since this was the 1970s, when women were still not expected to work while having a husband that could provide. At the beginning of the movie, before we get to even see Kathy, she is narrating and mentions it seemed like the perfect role for a woman who wasn't ready to assume her role in society. This shows how Kathy does not want to comply with the contemporary expectations. She wanted to be the one that stood out. A few aspects I would like to touch on before the end is that this movie was very fun to watch. I got to feel very motivated myself seeing how strong Kathy was in the philosophies that she shared with the girls. I felt that there were more masculine features in Kathy as well. This movie overall was an experience to watch, and I personally would recommend this movie on a non-gender related basis too. It was funny, inspirational, and exciting.